Yeah, Divers, Mike Martins here with the Mike Martins channel. Last night we had a really entertaining Mike in the Night last night, and we were talking about Canadians, or people in Australia and those major cities, and New Zealand and the UK that can't live in their major capitals or major cities in their own country anymore, so they're migrating to other cities. Well, somebody sent me this and left this little link here in a comment. Thank you for sending me this. This is where Canadians are moving when they can't afford Toronto or Vancouver anymore. So unlike the United States, we don't have a lot of major cities. We have 3, and if you want to speak French, we got 4. But realistically, the state of Texas has more major cities in all of the state of Texas than all of Canada put together. So Canada's, and they're trying to push the population up to 2050 with all the Europeans going back to Europe in mass numbers and selling their properties in Canada and moving in big numbers back to Europe. Who's going to build the infrastructure? Well, I'm not trying to say that in a bad way, but I'm just saying it, calling a spade here. This is where Canadians are moving when they can't afford Toronto, Vancouver anymore. If you've ever wondered where you and others might end up after being priced out of the housing market in a big city, a new report may be able to give you some idea. Popular moving truck rental company U-Haul has used its own data to create the list. Now, guys, hear me out. Remember we were talking about this whole U-Haul thing? I've been talking about U-Haul. We made a bunch of U-Haul videos about using U-Haul statistics about where people are moving in Canada. And we also did a U-Haul statistics where people are moving from California. So, where they migrated, where they can afford to live, blah, blah, blah. So here it is. North Vancouver, BC topped the list. Now, I'm going to kind of interject here. This is the full list as it follows. Number 1 is North Vancouver, BC. I don't think so. Every other one on the list, yes, except North Vancouver. North Van is like the Beverly Hills of Vancouver. It's very expensive in North Van. North Vancouver is it could be people are moving to North Van because they're selling in other parts of Canada for big money, or they could be leaving Quebec on that foreign program where they get their money back from the Quebec government. They have to invest in Quebec X amount of millions, I don't know how much money, to come into Canada, and then they leave. And then I'm thinking North Vancouver is number 1 for, that's not affordability, because to even rent a room in North Vancouver, you're looking at about $1,200 to $1,500 for a room. So I don't believe that, guys, North Vancouver is because of affordability issues. I just don't. That's the only one. But let me go to number 2. Trenton, Ontario. Yep. St. Thomas, Ontario. Yep. Brockville, Ontario. Yes. North Bay, Ontario. Yeah. Sherbrooke, Quebec. Yep. Stratford, Ontario, for sure. We just had someone on the show the other day, Steve the Plumber, talking about Stratford, Ontario and trends in the housing market. Collingwood, Ontario. Levi's, Quebec. Yep. Chatham, Ontario. Salmon Arm, BC. Yep. Hanover, Ontario, Nipan, Ontario, Huntsville, Ontario, Sarnia, Ontario, North Perth, Ontario, Lindsay, Ontario, Peterborough, Ontario, Elliott Lake, Ontario, Merritt, BC! Woo! I'm in this right here. Number 20, Merritt, BC! 21, Gravehurst, Ontario. 22, Victoria, BC. Strathroy, Ontario. Wasaga Beach, Ontario. Belleville, Ontario. Anyways, let me see if I'm recording here. Yes, I am. Anyways, guys, I am so surprised. 1, I found my Alf doll. And 2, that Merritt's on this list. And it's no secret. I am one of those housing refugees that left Vancouver. It's not that I was living uncomfortably. It's not that I was living in cramped or bad conditions. It wasn't that. I wanted to have children. We had one, and then the wife was pregnant with the second. And we realized, look, it's going to be very expensive to live in this big city, and it's very antisocial. Everybody's kind of upset with each other, type of thing. That's what I noticed when I lived there. Anyways, the phone's ringing. Don't worry about it. This is what I wanted to share with you guys. These are the cities here, basically, that people are leaving to move to. They're leaving the big cities in Canada to move to these specific cities. So, anyways, I wanted to know what you guys thought about this, what you guys feel about this. Is it true? Are you a housing refugee? Did you leave the big city to move to a smaller town yourself? I want to know in the comments below. Because we were talking about this on Trends in the Housing Market last night, and Steve the Plumber came on the second hour, and he was discussing these very cities. But in that town there that they were mentioning, Stratford, it's like $600,000 to get in. for just an average house. So things are really, really out of control, and that's pretty far from Toronto, from the major city. I'm closer here in Merritt than to Vancouver, 2.5 hours. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below about my Alf doll, and let me know, where did you move to, or where did you relocate to? Are you a housing refugee? And that comment there about the whole entire North Vancouver. No, North Van is very like the Beverly Hills of Vancouver. So it would be people that are selling in other places, or people with a lot of money that in Canada that are selling and moving to North Van. So that's not correct. It's not a low or a cheap area to live, North Van. So I kind of wanted to throw that out there. It's number one on the list, but no, North Van isn't. Also, where are people leaving when they're mass exodusing California, Oregon, and Washington State, all liberal states? Where are people leaving when they're heading wagons east? Well, people are going to places like Salt Lake City, Utah, Nevada, Reno, Nevada. They're moving to Phoenix, Arizona, Tucson, Arizona, parts of Texas, Fort Worth, and some Californians are making their way even way out to Florida. So Californians are creating a huge change in pricing across parts of America because, one, their high population, and two, about the amount of Americans that left. The amount of Californians that left to move into interior America. Let me know what you guys think. Are you a housing refugee? Let me know. Comment below.